I have something to confess. All those terrible things you heard about each other, they weren't true.
The flood! The flood is coming!
In the colorful village of Spiceville, there lived two famous neighbors named Pepper and Sot. Pepper was a cheerful young man with bright red clothes, spiky hair, and endless energy. He loved excitement and believed every day should be filled with adventure. Sot, on the other hand, was a graceful young woman who wore sparkling white dresses. She was calm, wise, and preferred peace and order. Although they lived in houses right beside each other, they could hardly spend a day without arguing.
You're too noisy, and you're too serious, Bot. Ugh. A little fun won't hurt anyone.
The argument became so common that the birds stopped singing near their homes just to avoid the drama. One sunny morning, Pepper painted his fence bright orange. Sot stepped outside and gasped. "The color is terrible," she exclaimed. Pepper folded his arms. "At least my fence isn't boring." Sot immediately painted her own fence shining white. Soon the two fences looked so different that the villagers began calling the streets the line of war. Children gathered daily to watch the latest arguments. The mayor of Spiceville, Professor Cinnamon, shook his head. "Those two are like fire and water," he sighed. Months passed, the rivalry grew worse. When Pepper planted red flowers, Sot planted white flowers. When Sot bought a bicycle, Pepper bought a larger one. When Pepper hung lanterns, Sot hung even brighter lanterns. Neither wanted the other to win. One evening, while the moon glowed above the village, a mysterious traveler arrived. He was a sly fox named Ginger. Ginger noticed the constant fighting and smiled mischievously. "Interesting," he whispered, "very interesting." The fox had a secret. He loved causing trouble wherever he went. The next morning, he visited Pepper. "I heard Sot saying you are the laziest neighbor in Spiceville." Ginger lied. Pepper eyes widened. "She said that?" "Oh yes," replied Ginger. Pepper became furious. Later that day, Ginger visited Sot. "I overheard Pepper saying your garden looks like a pile of weeds." Sot frowned. "It said that?" "Indeed," Ginger replied dramatically. Now Sot was angry too. By sunset, the two neighbors were arguing louder than ever. The fox watched from a distance and laughed. For several weeks, Ginger continued spreading lies. Each false story made Pepper and Sot dislike each other more. The villagers grew worried. Spiceville no longer felt cheerful. Even the flowers seemed sad. Then one day, something unexpected happened. Dark clouds covered the sky, thunder rumbled. Rain began falling harder than anyone had ever seen. The river near the village quickly overflowed. Water rushed through the streets. People screamed and ran for safety.
The flood! The flood is coming!
Pepper looked out his window and saw water rising rapidly. At the same moment, Sot saw the same terrifying sight. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed across the village. The bridge connecting Spiceville to higher ground had collapsed. The villagers were trapped. Panic spread everywhere. "We need help!" cried the children. Pepper grabbed a rope. Sot grabbed a lantern. For the first time in many months, they looked at each other without arguing. "The villagers need us," Sot said. Pepper nodded. Neither cared about winning anymore. Together they rushed into action. Pepper used his strength to pull stranded villagers from the water. Sot organized rescue groups and guided everyone towards safety. Throughout the night, they walked side by side. When Pepper slipped near the river bank, Sot grabbed his arm and saved him. When Sot became trapped behind a fallen cart, Pepper lifted it away. The villagers watched in amazement. The two enemies were finally acting like a team. Near midnight, they heard a cry for help. It was Ginger the fox. The flood waters had surrounded him. "Help me!" he shouted. Pepper and Sot exchanged glances. Despite everything, they rushed to save him. They threw a rope. Ginger grabbed it. Together, they pulled him to safety. The fox collapsed, shivering with guilt.
I have something to confess. All those terrible things you heard about each other, They weren't true.
Pepper blinked. Salt stirred. What do you mean? She asked. I invited them, Ginger admitted. I wanted you to fight because I thought it was funny. The crowd gasped. Pepper and Salt looked at one another. Suddenly, everything made sense. The insults, the rumors, the misunderstanding, they had spent months believing lies. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then Pepper laughed. Salt looked surprised. Soon she started laughing too. The villagers joined in. Even Professor Cinnamon chuckled.
We nearly destroyed our friendship because we never talked honestly.
We were so busy proving who was better that we forgot how to be good neighbors.
The flood waters finally began to recede. By morning, sunshine returned to Spiceville. The village started rebuilding. This time, Pepper and Salt worked together. They repaired homes. They planted new flowers. They rebuilt the bridge stronger than before. One afternoon, Pepper stood beside the freshly painted bridge. What color should we paint it? He asked. Salt smiled. Normally, they would argue. Instead, she replied, why not use both our favorite colors? Pepper grinned. Together, they painted the bridge red and white. The result was beautiful. People traveled from distant villages just to see it. Soon, the bridge became known as the Friendship Bridge. As for Ginger, he sincerely apologized to everyone. To earn forgiveness, he spent months helping rebuild the village. Eventually, the villagers forgave him. From that day forward, Pepper and Salt were no longer enemies. They still disagreed sometimes. Pepper remained energetic. Salt remained calm. But now, they understood something important. Differences do not have to create enemies. In fact, different people often make the strongest teams. And whenever children ask why the Friendship Bridge was painted red and white, the villagers would tell them the story of Pepper and Salt. They would end with the same lesson. The enemy next door may become your greatest friend when you choose understanding over pride. And in Spiceville, where laughter once again filled the air, Pepper and Salt lived happily ever after. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this story. If you enjoyed this story, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell so you'll be the first one to get notified when I post a new video. So stay tuned on my channel on storytelling by Pissy Chai. I love you all. Bye.